Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Digital Nomad World weekly series. I'm Becky, and I'll be your host. Today, we're going to be talking with my guest, Amy Poulton, about starting a Nomad Book Club. Amy, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I am really excited to talk about this potential. Well, it's not a potential, you've started it, this Nomad Book Club,
Yeah,
because I'm really surprised that no one has started this already. It's such a great idea.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, I kind of feel the same, to be honest. Like there are other kind of social media accounts out there that are about travel and books, but something that hones in on the nomad experience. Yeah, I think there's a gap in the market for it, or I hope there is.
Yeah. So let's first of all learn a little bit about you. Can you tell us about your background and how you started your digital nomad journey?
Oh, that is a good question. I started it by having more of an expat experience first. So when I graduated university, it was like 2011, and there were just like no jobs anywhere. I got so sick of job hunting that I was on these sites and I just clicked the button that was like all jobs everywhere in the world. And I came across some opportunities for teaching English in Asia, and that took me to Hong Kong. And that took me to realizing, like, wait, hold on, there's this whole other life out here. And that kind of started the travel bug for me. And yeah, I've had a kind of mix since then of more like expat experiences. I've lived in Hong Kong, Thailand, Italy, as more of an expat, and then also working online, first freelancing and then more in full-time roles. And so that's what I do now. But I'd say like the proper full-time digital nomad, probably only a year and a half. So I'm used to a much slower pace of exploring places. But so this is a learning curve for me. I've gotten faster and faster. I'll say that. I started out with years in a place, and now I'm like, hey, a month will do, on to the next.
Yes, that's fantastic. So what are you doing now in this full digital nomad experience that you're having?
Yeah, I work for a company that has like DIY websites. I work as an editor for them, and they're based in Israel slash the US. So they're happy for me to work literally anywhere. They don't really care about the time zone. When I started working for them, I was in Thailand, so that was sometimes like late night meetings to get on the US time zone. But yeah, they're really flexible, so they don't mind where I am. They don't mind if I, need to move my work hours around a bit. So yeah, really happy with that.
Sounds really ideal. I'm glad you've been able to make this work and then launch this idea for a Nomad Book Club. So what inspired you to create this?
Definitely the like dual passions of reading and travel. And I'd say specifically while I was in Hong Kong, I took a couple of trips. I think one was to Vietnam, and I read The Quiet American by Graham Greene. And I really didn't know anything about Vietnam. I knew vaguely there was a Vietnam War. And so that book gave me so much context for what I was seeing around me that I was like, I'm going to do this on every trip that I'm on. And yeah, I guess that evolved into I have a blog called Page Traveler, and that's kind of about the same thing, like books and travel, like what to read that supplements your trip somewhere, that gives you, yeah, more context or a deeper insight into the place that you're visiting. Um, and from there, yeah, I guess like blogs are less common these days, and I really wanted to find a way that was less me writing a list and then publishing it and being like, where is everyone? Because that's the fun part of a book club, right? Is being able to discuss the books. And it's something that I've been missing. Like my mom is in a book club. I was in a book club when I was in Bangkok. And that kind of thing of meeting together and discussing, I felt like I really missed. And I was like, it's strange that there's not a nomad version of this that exists because we're all traveling and we're all traveling to learn the stories of the places that we're in, right? Like to get to know places at a deeper level, to travel at a slower pace that allows us that insight. Most of the nomads that I meet also love to read. I would say the majority. So I was like, yeah, why not start something that is a little bit more social, that's a bit more of a community.
Yeah, I think that also allows for deeper conversations about a variety of issues in life and not just what we often ask each other when we meet
Yeah.
as nomads, like where are you from? How long have you, where are you traveling next? For
Where
example.
have you been? Where are you going? Where are you from? Yeah.
Yeah. So how is this going to work? How is it already working, Amy? Are people meeting together on Zoom or what is your vision for this?
You know what? I came into it with a bit of an open mind because I I feel like it depends what people need and want. And so I started in March, just creating some social media accounts, putting some stuff out there, starting to collect email addresses for an email list, telling my friends and family, spreading the word. And then after about a month and a half, then I started to put feelers out, kind of questionnaires of, okay, I'm sharing this social media content about books. Like, would you want this to be an online thing? Would you want it to be just existing on social media? So next week, which will be the 22nd of May, so perhaps it would have already happened. It's already happened in the past. Maybe by the time people see this, um, we're having the first online, yeah, like Zoom meetup for the book club. And in the future, it might turn into, well, it definitely will turn into in-person meetups. And what I hope in the future as well is for things like literary retreats, reading retreats, which kind of combines those two elements of like traveling to a place, reading in that place, and also learning about the place's literary history. I'd love to do that in places like Dublin or Paris or places in the UK, like the Lake District, or in London, Edinburgh, like very literary destinations. I think that would be super cool. Um, but yeah, I'm taking it like one step at a time. It might be that, I don't know, people are less interested in having one set book to read per month and more that we just kind of meet up to discuss what we're reading. Um, because the way I'm formatting it at the moment is each month is a different country. And I'm kind of tailoring it to where I'm traveling, which is incredibly selfish because not everyone is where I'm traveling to. So it could be that in the future it will be more like, hey, where are you right now and what are you reading? And I'm going to this place next. Can you recommend something if you've been there already? Or it might just be like a regular book club and, each month being able to travel somewhere through reading and learning more about that place. Maybe it will encourage you to take a trip there. I think there are lots of ways this can work. And so that's why I'm kind of, yeah, letting it be what it is.
Very interesting. So this first meetup you're going to have on the 22nd of
Yeah.
May, it's this is to discuss those ideas, or have you already had you announced a book before and people will be discussing a book in that first meeting?
Yeah, a bit of both. This month we're reading and traveling Italy. And I think this is a good one because I think a lot of people have probably read something set in Italy or by an Italian author. And so I've said, yeah, come to the meeting. There's a book that I'm reading as kind of like a pick of the month, which is Wind in the Reeds by, I'm going to ruin the name, but Grazia Dede. Um, so it's like read that book if you have time to read that book. If you've read something else, or here's a book of a list of suggested books you can read around that also supplement this, or just let me know what you're reading at the moment. And I guess I'll just have to see who turns up and what they have, and then we'll see from there.
Really interesting. I like how it's a bit more free flowing and open. And it'll be
Yeah,
interesting
it's
to
like
see.
no judgment,
Yeah.
like I would hate a book club where it's like, what do you mean you didn't read the book? Like,
Yes. So do you plan as a way to connect people to have some questions ready that are touching on certain themes of the book that you selected, but then anybody can comment on them based on what they read? Or because I'm hoping people will still have that sense of connection and a shared something they've shared together.
Yeah, I would think definitely because at the moment this is just starting, so it's a small group anyway. I think, yeah, it's more about like getting to know each other. Um, yeah, like sharing our favorite reads or favorite travel reads. Um, because yeah, that is at the heart of this as well, is having a community. So I think that's just as important as did you like the characters? Did you like the plot? Yeah.
Interesting. Are you gonna have everybody in one Zoom room together? You're gonna do breakout
Oh
rooms?
yeah. I don't think I'm at that stage yet where there needs to be breakout rooms.
Okay.
Soon. Soon there will be. There'll be
Yes.
so many people that we will have to have separate breakout rooms. You're correct.
Okay. That sounds really like there's gonna be a lot of promise with this, and I hope it gets to be a really big group. So how do you select the books for the club? How did you select The Wind and the Reeds?
Um, well, I try to prioritize books that are by an author from that place because I think that's the most authentic route to go down. I also try and prioritize where I can female writers or queer writers because um, I feel like there's already a dearth of their stories. And I often think that those stories kind of show a different side to a place that you wouldn't usually see. Like for example, for Turkey, I picked The Bastard of Istanbul by Elif Shafak. And it was very much about the women's experience in Turkey. Whereas reading someone like Orhan Pamuk, who's very well known, I feel like you don't get that layer, that depth of experience. So that's what I try and do for this month. Yeah, I picked Wind in the Reeds because I'd never heard of Grazia Dede. And she was something like the second Nobel Prize winner for literature who was a woman. And I was like, why have I never heard this name? Yeah, and she has a lot of books published, but um, I guess it's not as popular as other writers like Italo Calvino, for example, or Umberto Eco. And so I was like, yeah, that's someone I would really be interested in reading. Something else that I'm learning to appreciate is translation, is having a book that's written originally in English and having a book that's written originally in another language, but in good translation. And I feel like this is something I'm going to have to like dig deeper into because it makes a huge difference of how accessible that book becomes, how much you can appreciate the writing. So that's something I'm really going to be focusing on my selection process in the future is making sure that that book is also accessible in the language most people are going to be reading it in this book club, which is English.
Yeah, you reminded me of this wonderful Italian author, but I might butcher the name on the spot, Terzio Tizzani. Um,
Oh my God, yes.
I'm
I
so
love
glad
his The Fortune Teller Told Me is one of my favorite.
that is the one I read, actually. But I
Oh, it's
wanted
so good.
so good. I wanted to read more, but I found out because at the time I had an Italian boyfriend and he loved him as an author, but there wasn't a lot in translation into English. And I was so
Yeah.
upset because his writing or the translation I had read for a fortune teller told me was so like was so great. And so yeah, it's I hope there's more and more maybe with AI, for example, which I hate to say AI related with reading, but maybe there will be more
Yeah.
translations of what these wonderful authors that have not found their ability the way to get their voice out there to all of these different readers of other languages. But yeah, I read this that book in
Yeah, for
particular,
sure.
author struck me as yeah, just so great. I was upset that I'd never heard of him before because his writing was so nice.
I completely agree. And I found this in the first country that I picked, which was Georgia, is there isn't a lot of Georgian like literature out there that's in translation and good translation. Luckily, I have a Georgian friend who could really help me out with that. And one of the, like, for example, I read a couple of books that were originally in English, like published in English by like members of the Georgian diaspora. And also there was another writer, Nino Haratishvili, I think is how you say it, who writes in German. And so a lot of her books are readily available in translation. Um, for that reason. But yeah, it makes me wonder like how many stories am I missing out on because they're not available in translation or in good translation, and the art of translation. Like I really hope AI can get there. But things like poems, how do you how does someone go about translating a poem? I don't know.
Yes,
I'm jealous of all these polyglots who have these skills.
yes, me too. But if AI can help with anything in a positive way, I hope it would be somehow wonderful translations to get these different
Somehow.
authors out there to all of us.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, there was a book in Georgia that strikes me. But the name, it was the most famous book, I think, that was being promoted in the bookshops by a Georgian author. It was
Oh.
like Nunu and Dede or something like this, which I
Oh,
read.
I know what you mean. Yeah, Ali and Nino.
Thank you. Very different. Yes, I read
Oh,
it.
but interesting fact on that
Oh,
is
yes.
that the author is named as Kurban Saeed. This is where you're going to get my like book nerd out.
This is what I
But
want, it's what we want, Amy.
that name is believed to actually be a pseudonym because um, it was originally published under this, I want to say, German Prussian Duchess Duchess's name, and then people are like, okay, I really don't think she knows that much about Georgia and Armenia and Azerbaijan, and um, and it's believed that it's actually this guy who was, I think he was born into a Jewish family in Azerbaijan and then had to leave because of his religion, or it's the other way around, and he was Muslim and he converted to Judaism. And there was this whole thing around like the mystery of yeah, who this author was and how he knew in such detail all the traditions of each of the countries, like Georgia, which is completely culturally different to Azerbaijan, for example. And yeah, so that also gets me onto like the interesting stories behind the authors really makes you appreciate those stories as well. But did you
Absolutely.
enjoy it?
I did, and it made me
I
appreciate. I
love
was
that book.
spending 3 weeks in Georgia at that time, and it just made me feel, yeah, so much more knowledgeable about the culture and the things I was seeing around me, and the deeper history. So I hope that your book club
Yeah.
also includes histories, because even if it's you could read the
Yeah.
history of an
Yeah. Yeah.
author that became a book, for example. I read an incredible book recently that is called The Hare with the Amber Eyes, and it's
Oh, that sounds good. I like the
yeah,
title already.
it was written by a Jewish author, but he was documenting, he's a potter now living in Austria. And he was documenting, or maybe it was, no, I think he's in the UK now, but his family had also spent time in Austria. But he's tracing these antiques that were passed down in his family, and they are originally from Japan. And so you follow the history of his formerly
Wow.
wealthy family that were they first acquired these objects. They're called netsuke. They were used to hang from kimono robes and things like that. They're little animals or things of that nature. And he traces how these things made it and survived throughout the history of World War II. Also, his Jewish family, of
Oh my goodness.
course, suffered a lot in Europe. So it's a fascinating story, but it really shows you the history of the author can really have an impact on the power of the story.
100%. I'm gonna write that one down after this.
Yes,
The hare with the amber eyes.
the Hair with
Okay.
the Ember Eyes. As you can see, my memory for names and titles and authors, that's definitely the title,
I'll
but
take it with a pinch of salt. Okay.
do some, offline Googling. Anyway, I can recommend that to people. And yeah, you're sparking in me this love of, literature as we travel. And I'm excited for this Nomad Book
Oh, I'm
Club
glad.
to really get going. So I'm curious, what countries have you visited so far in your nomad journey? You've already mentioned a few, but do you have a favorite destination that was particularly inspiring for the book club, and what are some of your favorite books that you've read so far?
Oh, yeah. Well, we've only done three. We're in the third month now. So the first month was Georgia, second Turkey, third Italy. Um, but I have to say, like all three, like I really thought there are gonna be some months that are gonna be kind of duds. And that's what I love about like reading around a place is yeah, you discover authors and books you never would have picked up otherwise. You get to understand that place at a deeper level, or even if you don't enjoy a book, you will take something away from it that explains that place a little bit better. So I'm really into Italy at the moment. And I think this is a really exciting time because I know the Vatican is not Italy, but I kind of lump them together. Um, but with the election of the new Pope, with the Rome Jubilee year this year, like I've been kind of fascinated a little bit with the Vatican. Like I've got a little bit obsessed with the conclave, and I
Saw the
read
movie.
Conclave.
You read the book.
I tried to. I actually wanted to watch the movie first. Terrible book person. But then I couldn't access it on my Amazon Prime, and I was like, "Oh, guess I'll just have to read the book," which I did, and it was really, really good. And yeah, so insightful. And I mean, Italy. I love Italy anyway, but I feel like it's such a mix of places. Like I've read A Room with a View, which is set in Florence. The Reeds in the Wind is set here in Sardinia. You've got like the stories of the mafioso in Sicily and in Naples. You've got like Elena Ferrante. You've got, yeah, Italo Calvino. And then you've also got this like incredible ancient history as well, like the stories of Pompeii. So like Italy is just like bursting with stories, basically, is what I'm trying to say to that. And I'm really enjoying this month.
Oh no, what a magical setting and a magical place for all of this drama to unfold. I feel like it's home
Yeah.
of the drama.
And I'm hoping actually in the future because I mean I don't plan to travel to a different country every month just for the sake of this book club stay. Is if I'm ever in a place, say for 2 months, maybe I'll do 1 month with books set in that place. But the other month, I'm also starting to think about destinations I don't plan to travel to. So places like North Korea that I don't plan to visit anytime soon, or Turkmenistan, or probably at the moment Russia. I don't see myself being able to go there anytime soon, but being able to read around these places also helps you appreciate why. And like you've said, like the history of that place, why it is the way it is, and the stories of people that are there, they can be accessed because they're usually quite shut off from the rest of the world. So that will be the next challenge. Reading around a place I'm not in.
Yes, you have really uncovered just an endless treasure trove of things to pull from. And yeah, so I'm also curious, do you have any plans for an in-person meeting? Because as we've discussed offline, we are both going to be in Bansko, Bulgaria for the Nomad Fest, which will be in the middle of June, 2025. We're now speaking in May. Um, do you foresee an in-person, the first in-person Nomad Book Club meetup there?
Yes, definitely. And it will be part of the Nomads in Wonderland event that's going on there. So, uh, yeah, the book club will be part of that event. And so it might work slightly differently to what I'm kind of creating online at the moment. Um, and again, we're figuring it out organically based on what that community wants. So it might be that we pick a book that's by a Bulgarian author. We might turn it into this is my favorite idea, but I don't want to sway anyone's thing of like a book swap. If everyone comes with a book and then kind of like covering it in brown paper, you know, like those blind dates with a book, writing a few things about it, maybe pitching it to the rest of the group, and then we all swap. And I think this could be a really interesting, especially if people bring their favorite travel stories or a book from where they're from that they think people might not have read before. Um, I think that could be a really interesting way of doing it. We also might do it with something shorter, like something shorter and nonfiction. I'm trying to think of a book kind of like The Alchemist, where there's so much to discuss, and we could do like section by section each week. Whatever we decide, or whatever the community decides, I'm super excited for it. But there are so many different ways this can work. And yeah, I hope this could be the start of other events and other places. And yeah, I was showing that actually like book clubs can be pretty creative. Like you can take it anywhere.
Absolutely. That sounds great. I would love to bring a book for the community. And
Yeah, please do.
I'll be watching for the updates about that. Can you also give us a preview? I know you're going to Bulgaria soon, but after Bulgaria, what might be the next destination for the book clubs?
Oh, well, I'm heading to Malta as well. And it's crazy because I lived in Malta for a year and I don't think I ever actually read a book set in Malta, which is very unlike me. But it's a small place. Um, and it's also a place that is personally very interesting for me because my great grandfather, who served and died in World War II, the ship he was on, the last place it left from was Malta. And I believe there is a book out there about the ship that he was on. I'm gonna try and source that. I don't think it's like a common a common published book, but that's definitely one that I would love to read while I'm there. And over the summer, I might end up in Ireland or the UK. And if I do end up in the UK, which is my home country, I have no idea what I'm going to do because I am obviously so biased, having such a wealth of English literature to choose from that I'm so familiar with that I wonder if I might do something a little bit different with that as well. I haven't decided what yet, but those are the things I'm thinking about.
Well, you are clearly very knowledgeable on this topic, and we of course want a
Oh,
book
thank you.
nerd to be in charge of a book club and found the very first Nomad Book Club. So looking forward, I'm already enjoying your updates on Instagram. Can you share with us where people can follow you to start getting their chance to get into the Nomad Book Club?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Instagram and TikTok are the two places where I'm sharing the most because I'm not the most savvy social media person. So those two I understand. So that's where I'm sharing. It's at nomad.book.club. And from there, if you wanted to sign up for the email list as well, there's links to my blog, which has the sign up and everything on there. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Amy. We're going to put all the links to that in our description below and on Spotify. Is there anything else you would like to share with us before we go? Anything I haven't touched on that you want to make sure people know about?
Actually, there is. It's a bit of a like exclusive because it's not officially launched yet. But I've also created what I'm calling like a read around the world journal, which is a book where it's like a country per page, and you can fill in kind of like a reading journal. Reading journals have taken off so much at the moment. And yeah, being able to fill in that reading journal and read from a book from each country and kind of check it off as you go. So yeah, I'm in the process of publishing that. I might even have a prototype ready for Banksco, who knows? But yeah.
That sounds incredible. And people love to feel that sense of achievement. So, and I think people really do miss reading. I know a lot of people have kind of stopped reading with all the quick scrolls on your phone. And anything that can
Yeah.
inspire us
And
to
me too,
connect,
as well. Like I
get back into reading would be great.
yeah, I definitely felt the same. I think when we're all in different chapters of our lives of when we're too busy to read, and then when we get back into it, we're like, why did I ever stop? Why don't I ever make time for this? So
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to do and trying to encourage others to do moving forward.
Well, thank you so much, Amy, for starting this book club and looking forward to connecting with you in person in Bulgaria. And everyone, please follow nomad.book.club and join us. Thank you very much, Amy.
Thank you.